how a broken boy became the man who unlocked the universe. Picture this, a premature infant, so small he could fit in a quart pot, born on Christmas Day 1642 in a drafty manor house in rural England. His father was already dead, his chances of survival virtually zero. The midwives didn't even bother to hurry back with medicine, certain the child would be gone before their return. Yet somehow, impossibly, Isaac Newton clung to life, the first of many times he would defy the odds that seemed stacked against him. But here's where the story takes its first dark turn. When Isaac was barely 3 years old, his mother Hannah made a choice that would scar him forever. She abandoned him. The abandonment that forged a genius. Hannah Newton had remarried a wealthy rector named Barnabas Smith, who wanted nothing to do with her son. So she simply left Isaac with his maternal grandmother and walked away to start her new life. Imagine the psychological devastation, a toddler watching his mother choose a new husband over her own child. This wasn't temporary childcare, this was outright abandonment. The trauma ran so deep that decades later, Newton would confess in his private journals to harboring murderous fantasies about his stepfather, writing of threatening my father and mother Smith to burn them and the house over them. This wasn't mere childhood anger, this was the rage of a brilliant mind fractured by rejection. His grandmother, Marjorie Ayscough, tried her best, but she was elderly and struggling. Young Isaac grew up isolated, angry, and different from other children. While village boys played together, he built elaborate mechanical contraptions, windmills, water clocks, sundials with an obsessive precision that unnerved adults. Teachers noted his strange behavior and antisocial tendencies. He was the weird kid who talked to himself and seemed to live in his own world. The violent genius emerges when Isaac was 11. His stepfather died and his mother returned, but with 3 new children from her second marriage. The message was clear, these children were wanted. Isaac had been disposable. The psychological dynamics were devastating. He was the unwanted firstborn, watching his mother lavish attention on the siblings she'd chosen to keep. At school, Newton's brilliance emerged alongside his violence. He was academically gifted but socially explosive. In one incident, he kicked a boy in the stomach so hard during a fight that the victim was left writhing on the ground. But here's the chilling part, Newton wasn't satisfied with physical victory. He dragged his beaten opponent to the church wall and rubbed the boy's face against the stone until it was bloody. This wasn't playground scuffling. This was methodical cruelty. Yet this same capacity for ruthless focus would later revolutionize human understanding of the universe. The secret world of a tormented mind. Newton's notebooks from his youth reveal a mind simultaneously creating and destroying. Alongside mathematical calculations and optical experiments, he wrote detailed plans for revenge against those who wronged him. He recorded every slight, every insult, cataloging human cruelty with the same methodical precision he would later apply to natural laws. His mother wanted him to become a farmer, to stay close to home and work the land. But Newton was a disaster at practical farming. He was caught reading under trees while sheep wandered away, or building intricate irrigation systems when he should have been planting crops. His mind simply couldn't be contained by ordinary expectations. The breakthrough came when his uncle, William Ayscough, recognized something extraordinary in the strange, violent, brilliant boy. Against his mother's wishes, Ayscough convinced her to let Isaac return to school and eventually attend Cambridge University. It was a decision that would change the world. Cambridge and the making of a revolutionary at Trinity College, Cambridge, Newton remained an outsider. While wealthy students partied and formed social circles, Newton worked as a servant to pay his fees, cleaning rooms and serving meals to his social superiors. The humiliation was daily and complete, but it also freed him from social obligations. While others networked, Newton studied. While they drank, he experimented. While they slept, he revolutionized mathematics. But even at Cambridge, Newton's childhood trauma manifested in peculiar ways. He was secretive to the point of paranoia, hiding his discoveries and refusing to publish groundbreaking work. He seemed to fear that sharing his genius would somehow lead to abandonment or ridicule, the same fears that had haunted him since his mother walked away. Then came 1665, and the plague that would accidentally create the most productive intellectual period in human history. the miracle years when darkness became light, when bubonic plague forced Cambridge to close, Newton retreated to his childhood home in Woolsthorpe. For 18 months, this emotionally damaged 23-year-old essentially rewrote the laws of reality. In his mother's house, the same place where he'd been abandoned and traumatized, Newton discovered calculus. The laws of motion, universal gravitation, and the nature of light and color. The famous apple incident? It likely happened, but not as mythology suggests. Newton wasn't struck by a falling fruit and suddenly understood gravity. Instead, his account describes sitting in contemplation, probably brooding. Knowing his psychology, when he observed an apple fall and wondered why it fell straight down rather than at an angle. Why didn't the moon fall to Earth the same way? The question launched a line of inquiry that would culminate in the Principia Mathematica, arguably the most important scientific work ever written. The Revenge of the Rejected Child. What's fascinating is how Newton's childhood abandonment shaped his approach to science. He worked alone, trusted no one completely, and guarded his discoveries obsessively. When the German mathematician Leibniz independently developed calculus, Newton's response was swift and brutal. He orchestrated a campaign to destroy Leibniz's reputation that lasted decades. The abandoned child who had fantasized about burning down his stepfather's house had become a man who could methodically destroy intellectual enemies. His later years were marked by similar patterns. As master of the Royal Mint, Newton pursued counterfeiters with the same ruthless precision he'd shown in that childhood fight, personally investigating cases and ensuring that forgers were hanged. The boy who had been powerless against abandonment had become a man who wielded power without mercy. The final irony: Newton died in 1727, arguably the most famous man in Europe, honored by kings and celebrated across the continent. But he died as he had lived alone, never married, with few close friends. The childhood trauma that had driven his genius also prevented him from forming the intimate connections he craved. Yet his legacy is the ultimate triumph over abandonment. The child who was considered too weak to survive, too strange to love, and too difficult to keep had given humanity the mathematical language to understand the cosmos. Every satellite that orbits Earth, every spacecraft that reaches other planets, every GPS device that guides us home, all depend on equations first written by an orphaned boy in a drafty English manor house. The man who touched the mind of God. Newton himself wrote, "I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore, and diverting myself in now and then finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me." But perhaps the real truth is simpler and more human. Isaac Newton was a broken child who channeled his pain into the most productive intellectual fury in history. His mother's abandonment created a void that he filled with the secrets of the universe itself. The boy who had been rejected by the people who should have loved him unconditionally spent his life uncovering the unconditional laws that govern all existence. In the end, Newton's story isn't just about scientific discovery, it is about the mysterious alchemy through which human suffering can be transformed into transcendent achievement. The same psychological forces that might have destroyed a lesser mind instead forged the intellect that gave us our modern understanding of reality itself. The abandoned child had become the man who explained why planets dance in their orbits and why apples fall to Earth, revealing that the entire universe operates according to laws as reliable and unchanging as the love he had always sought but never quite found.